Nope.
Hey, what is up you guys? It's James from James' Reptiles, back with another video. Recently I did a reptile room tour video. Today we're going to be looking at just all my isopods. Let's jump right into it. And for Sam, some root beer. Alright, so for the most part I keep all my isopods in these 6-quart tubs, and depending on species I drill different amounts of holes. Obviously I have 3 dwarf whites. One's got a ton of holes, one's got not a lot of holes. Don't ask, because I'm not really worried about the dwarf whites. They breed like crazy anyway. Like I said, I do have 3 colonies. I started with this one, or I started with 2, I guess. No, I started with 1, and then I split it into 2 right around the time I started labeling them. And just today I made a 3rd one. The color of the tape doesn't mean nothing. I just ran out of white. So as we can see, dwarf whites are extremely small. I'm not really going to be going over the care, just because honestly I don't know all the care. Like, I'm sure I could tell you what they are, but I don't want to get it wrong. So dwarf whites, look at all those. Is that even coming up on camera? Look at all these. Those are all isopods. I realize it doesn't want to focus, but all those little white dots, isopods. All those down there, isopods. So dwarf whites are awesome. They're pretty much the cheapest ones you can get in the US. From what I understand from my buddy Sam over in Sweden, you can't really find them anywhere. But they're extremely prolific, and they just explode in numbers. I think I started with like 30. I bought 30 for $10 online, and now I have 3 whole colonies. And the reason I made a 3rd colony, and the reason I didn't make it in a larger tub like this, is just because I don't have any larger tubs and I didn't feel like buying one. So this is the one I just set up today. It's got cork bark, Josh Frog's ABG mix, mixed with like 75% ABG mix, 30%, 25% just Eco Earth, just to kind of use up Eco Earth I have and just kind of extend it. Magnolia leaves, sphagnum moss. I put green sphagnum moss and regular just because I have both, and I just why I don't need to have both, so I just use up the green. Little bit of lime, a little bit of extra charcoal, and there's some eggshell in there, and I think that's about it. Now you'll just see a couple of random scattered ones. You'll just see a couple ones scattered around in here, because this is a colony I just started, and the point of this colony is to just really breed. I put a bunch in here, so my hopes are that this colony, along with those 2, really breed a lot before the show, and you know, that way I'm able to take a bunch to the show, sell them at a good price that I know they'll sell at, not take any of them home, and then, you know, whatever money I make from isopods, I can upgrade them to a bigger container and maybe have less containers. Maybe I'll have 2. Yeah, so those are my dwarf whites. Definitely on my list to get, and I'm not in any rush to really expand my isopods, but like if I see some at a show, or you know, maybe one day if my boss has a bunch, I'll be like, hey, I want some of this. But on my list to go with the dwarf whites or dwarf purples. But next, let's look at powder orange. This is a colony I just started the other day, 5 days ago. Now the powder orange, when I bought the powder blue, a lot of babies were coming out orange. My boss was like, yeah, it's normal, it's whatever, just because they're all mixed up in there. And I don't see, oh, there's one. So these guys are actually really orange, and they're from Spain, I believe. But there's only a few in here, so you were really not going to see them. But you know, they're powder orange, just like powder blues. I'm sure they will explode in numbers, and eventually I'll need a 2nd colony because they're bright orange, and it's, you know, people probably love them. I'm sure they do. I haven't sold any yet, but I know when they do, they will love them. So up next we have my white duckies, which I bred once and had success, and now I have something like 8 or 9 babies all raised up, and I can't get them to breed again. So if my setup looks wrong, let me know. It's got springtails, it's humid, little ventilation. I'm pretty sure that's how you do it. Definitely a species I want to add is rubber duckies, because those go crazy. Now, compared to the dwarf whites and the powder blues and the orange, the duckies have babies so slow, and so do the clowns. Actually, let's take a look at the clowns, just because they're kind of in the same category. I mean, these are Armadillidium, where the white duckies are Cubaris, but they're almost very similar. Now, these guys I bred once or twice, and the babies are just, you know, they take a really long time to grow up. Now, these are Armadillidium Kalugi, lots of them with the yellow spots, some with the white spots. But like I said, I think my original adults have passed on, and this is the first generation. But they look so small. The adults are so big. Not really sure what's going on. I wish they would kind of grow a little faster, so I can start, you know, a continuous colony. Because, you know, it's just like, oh, every once in a while, babies, where I'd like to go in and see consistent babies all the time, constantly a new generation raising up. This dairy cows, I traded a couple of my Porcelio Haasii high yellows to a friend of mine, and he gave me, I think, like 5 dairy cows, and now I have what has to be like 30 or 40 adults already. And these guys are huge. These are way bigger than I thought they'd be. Look at that's it compared to my thumb. It's huge. I did hear someone asked me if they bite. I don't think they do, but I could be wrong. Look at all these munching away at something. And I have a couple of them that are just like these almost patternless. Of course, lots of springtails in all my enclosures, in all my little tubs. So dairy cows are extremely prolific, and I'm sure I will start a second colony of this extremely soon. I'd love to maybe take a couple cups of this to the show, as long as the show does happen. So the problem with the show, well, not the problem, the show they're calling an essential market. So they're really, really marketing it as a storefront, a retail storefront, which is kind of weird. And it is what it is. It's what they're doing, but so far it hasn't got shut down. I'm kind of expecting it to, which would really be sad, because I have all these isopods I want to sell, and it's too cold outside to ship. I mean, it's going crazy. Rain outside, you can't see because there's a light, but it's going crazy outside. But anyway, my Porcelio Haasii high yellow. I had a couple litters of these. There's some small ones right there, but I really haven't seen that many more. I don't know if it's the space I have them in, if they need more space or what. But here's a bunch of them. You can see some of the adults are just massive, just like the dairy cows. Just gigantic. So these guys really sell for like $6 a piece. So if I can take them to the show and sell them for $4 or $5 a piece, I think that'd be really awesome to get I don't want to say get rid of, but to start moving some and putting that money back in. I think that would be amazing. See a couple, see that one right there in the middle is missing a couple dots, that one's missing a dot. Stuff like that I can just kind of mix in. But these guys are from Spain, and they like it a little bit drier. But let's move on to, now this one's labeled powder orange. I did this right when I first got the powder blues. So I put a lot of random ones that were kind of orangey in here, and then I let them breed and breed and breed. And then I took all these and I started the new powder orange colony. So this one will have some random orange ones in it. I'm just checking to see if they ate. This is like a cow eyeball or a crab eyeball or something. I forget what it is. Vivariums in the mist, their food is so good. I just want to go crazy for it. So you'll see all these are kind of browny orange color. That's really just like they were kind of orange, but there's also blues, and they just got muddied up. So essentially what I'm going to do is when someone orders powder blues or maybe even powder orange, I'm just going to kind of mix a couple of these in there just to get rid of this colony, and that way it's just clean. I'm not a big fan of like the mixes or the gem mix or the party mix or any of those. I want this one's this This one's this. And I want every single powder orange to be bright orange. I want every blue to be bright blue. And I want all my springtails to be springtails. So I started these 2 springtail colonies just the other day with my help from my friend Sam. I know there's a little bit too much water in here, and that's all right. I'm not too worried about it. It'll slowly evaporate and everything will be fine. So there is some mold growing, and that's fine. They'll start eating the mold. This colony is doing really well. This one, I think I killed a lot of them at the beginning, but definitely starting to see some numbers go up. I don't know if I don't know if the camera's gonna pick any of that up, but any little movement you see is springtails. Yeah, who knows? Who knows if you can see any of that? So these guys, I have to open these lids once a day to make sure they get air, otherwise I'll end up killing them all. One thing I definitely want to know is if I drill a tiny hole right in the top, do you guys think they'll jump out? Is anyone here keep springtails? Let me know. So now we go to my powder blues. Now I had like 3 different powder blue colonies, and I moved 2 of them into this one. Really, it's just more room. I think these are 6 quarts and these are like 12 quarts, slightly taller but a lot wider. Here, if we can, they don't even look that much bigger, but I tell you what, I can fit a lot more cork bark in there, so I'm gonna say it's bigger. But look at all those. Look at all those in there. So these are like the easiest to breed. They're powder blues. If you ever have a chance to pick some up, they're like $10 for 10 of them, and everyone always overcounts. Right now, just because I got a lot, I'm telling people $15 for 20. But yeah, this is my big colony. This is my biggest colony of isopods, and it's honestly not even that big compared to some other people's colonies of isopods. This is like a crab eye or something. They don't seem to penetrate it as much, and they don't seem to really care about the crab eyes. But every other food they just go crazy over. So let's just start flipping some cork bark. Holy cow. So I imagine in a couple months this is what my dairy cows will look like. Yep, just like that. And now every time I see some like this that are really just orange, I kind of just squash them just to keep the blues really blue. I don't want anything in here just making it really brown. So I'll just kind of squish them, and I assume other isopods just eat them up. So like I said, every colony's got springtails, and every colony is, you know, they're either booming or they're about to boom. There's a couple like the clowns and the white duckies that I'm kind of on the fence if they're going to do anything good, but time will tell. And I am going to pick up a couple more species. I think at the show at least 1, maybe 2 more species, and we'll add it to the colony. So let's take a look. Here's the rack that they're on. They're in this tiny little space. It's also going to have my display snakes. It's got all my other snakes on it, and it's going to have my incubators on it. Now, this rack used to be just for dubia, and eventually I think I want this rack to be just isopods, and I'll have a second rack that'll just have my nice display snakes, which are my blue beauties, incubators. 1 will go on top of this, 1 I'm going to find a place for, and my snakes hopefully will have a rack. If not, their tubs will just be on top of a different rack. So that's really it. You can tell this video is like 13 minutes long already. This is kind of the reason I didn't want to put it in the reptile room tour, just because I knew it would take a while. And it does kind of deserve its own video. I know not every reptile person is into isopods, but like I said, this rack used to breed dubia. Now it breeds isopods, which currently in their current state, they cost more and they don't make as much money. But you have to look into the future. You have to think about it as more of a future investment. You know, I sold all my dubia and I spent the money on a bunch of isopods. And once that rack's all filled up like it was with dubia, they'll be making more than the dubia I have ever made. And, you know, I'll be able to buy magnolia leaves in bulk and all this and that. And everything will just make more sense. It's just getting it off the ground. You know, I don't want to expand the colonies too fast when I don't have any customers to sell to. So I'm slowly, you know, I let the colony grow a lot. and I sell. Then I let it grow a lot, maybe I expand. Then I let it grow a lot, and I sell. And basically what this does is it builds like a reputation. I know a couple people are asking for isopods in a local group the other day, and everyone started shouting out my name, and I'm like, whoa, I've only sold to a couple people. So as soon as I saw that, I grew my collection a little bit, and I expanded these powder blues, I expanded with the orange, and just today I expanded with the dwarf whites. Those are my three that are really going to sell the most, and I saw the potential. So, you know, I posted powder blues just yesterday on Facebook, and I have like 3 people that want to come by later this week and pick up 20 or 30 of them and start making me some money, which will be awesome because I can use that. You know, if I make 60 bucks off of this week, I can go buy some dwarf purples or some other cool ones like the Oreo crumbles. Those are really cool, or the lavas. Those are really cool. But nevertheless, I'm James from James Reptiles. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video about all my isopods, and make sure to check out my other videos. I have a couple that are doing really well. I think we're like 2 subscribers away from 200, which is just killer. The next goal is obviously 1,000. 1,000 is about when we'll be able to be monetized, and that'll just be spectacular. But nevertheless, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. All that definitely helps out the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.